All right, folks, so it goes without saying that the presidential debate is tonight, but Kamala Harris actually seems incredibly nervous.
She has closely studied the former president's past 6 debate performances. She's also been sort of entrenched in these briefing papers going over the former president's past comments, as well as the ways that he has insulted her, so she can be prepared to respond to that. She's engaged in these mock debates with a stand-in for the former president, and she's had conversations with Hillary Clinton and President Biden, who both extensively have knowledge of debating the former president.
Folks, if you enjoy the content, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. But this is apparently what she is doing behind the scenes. She watched every presidential debate that Trump has ever been a part of. She's calling Hillary Clinton, which I don't know if that's necessarily the best vessel of advice, but the chief reason I say it seems like she's incredibly nervous. Now, keep in mind, again, the presidential debate literally has not happened yet. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if she's going to win, Trump's going to win, but apparently her team is already feeding excuses to Politico as to why she's going to lose the debate. Okay, so there's this new article out that says the Harris team is worried that she will be, quote, handcuffed by debate rules set by Joe Biden, to which my response is, again, this thing hasn't even happened yet, and they're already preparing to feed the excuses as to why Kamala Harris will not perform up to speed. Now, it's probably worth noting that I think in many ways, this debate, unlike June 27th, I don't think is gonna have the biggest impact on this election, but I'll tell you what, I really think Kamala Harris needs this a lot more than Trump does, because whatever happens, the American public is largely already familiar with Donald Trump. They already mostly have a formulated opinion on him. And so as long as he doesn't have a completely terrible performance, he's basically going to stay about the same, and you already see him starting to catch up in some of those polls. But in contrast, obviously, Kamala Harris is somebody who is still not really defined to the American public. It's not exactly like she has answered a lot of questions or really necessarily said anything, and so this is going to be her first chance to really, I guess, form an opinion with the people, and perhaps that's why her team is so nervous and is already, again, making excuses for why she's not going to do well in the debate before the debate has already happened.
I think she's been crystal clear on her values, what she wants to fight for, and how she will do it. And also, she talks to people, right? She's reaching out to me. She's reaching out to businesses.
She hasn't talked to the press, Gina. I mean, I know you're a surrogate, but the American people are frustrated. The media is frustrated at the amount of access anyone's gotten to her for the past 41 days. I know you've seen that. We're finally going to have a debate tomorrow night, but she sat down for one interview that was taped and then cut down, and certain little things came out from it. But it has been a master class in avoiding any questions, and nothing's been made clear by her. Maybe it's been made clear in dribs and drabs from her policymakers when it comes out in print or on off a teleprompter at one of her scripted speeches. She's been impossible to pin down on anything because she hasn't given any access. The American people deserve it. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, and
So that said, folks, let's just get right into this. Let's read some of this article from Politico, because I'm very curious what the preemptive excuses from Kamala Harris's own team seem to be. So let's get into it. Kamala Harris had planned to object, fact check, and directly question Donald Trump while he was speaking during their debate next week. And by the way, that literally just means she was planning to constantly interrupt him, right? And they have the muted mic rules that, let's remind ourselves, were demanded by Joe Biden. And so, of course, they're going to stand here and say, no, Donald Trump is scared. He wants the mics muted. It's like, it is Joe Biden. It is literally your predecessor and your party who demanded these rules to begin with. And all Trump is doing is essentially trolling you back, saying, no, you guys wanted muted mics. Guess what? I'm not going to let you change the debate rules. But because Kamala Harris will not be able to say, excuse me, I'm speaking, this is apparently their excuse for why they're going to lose the debate, is they're not able to interrupt Trump while he is speaking. But anyways, it says, but now with rules just finalized to mute the candidates when they're opponent speaks, campaign officials said Harris advisors are scrambling to rewrite their playbook. Harris and her team, who are holed up in Pittsburgh for a multi-day debate camp, which sounds very familiar to what Joe Biden did, wanted unmuted microphones so that the vice president could lean on her prosecutorial background, confronting the former president in the same way she laced into some of Trump's Supreme Court nominees and cabinet members during Senate hearings. Again, let's be very clear about what this means. In other words, she's very upset that she can't just cut Trump off. Trump's like, okay, so here's what, excuse me, Donald. You know, she's scared she can't do that. Okay, she's scared that she cannot turn the presidential debate into a performative, like, clown show, essentially. But here we go. Instead, 4 Harris campaign officials argued that she will be, quote, handcuffed by the rules which were negotiated by President Joe Biden's team earlier this summer. So whose fault is it? Whose fault is it that the debate rules now have the muted mics? Joe Biden, okay? Again, they're going to say, oh, Trump is so scared of this. Joe Biden wanted these rules, okay? But anyways, quote, Trump's worst moments in debates are when he gets upset and snaps, said an aide to Harris in her 2020 presidential campaign, and they have neutered that. They're going on to say, quote, she could get thrown off by the muted mics, so putting her frustration about the mics out there, they're preparing for that possibility, said one Democratic national strategist. And here's the key point before they try to continue to say that Trump is scared of a real debate. Well, Trump's senior advisor, Jason Miller, said the campaign is glad that Harris's team, quote, finally accepted the already agreed upon rules of the debate that they wrote in the first place. This is what your party demanded that Trump do, and then suddenly you want to do a coup at the last minute and put in a whole new candidate and say, no, we want new rules. Very glad that Donald Trump did not agree to it, because why should he, right? Adding that, quote, Americans want to hear both candidates present their competing visions to the voters, unburdened by what has been. No notes, no sitting down, no advanced copies of the questions. But this part is funny. Even as the Harris campaign looks to reorient their candidate to debate rules agreed to when Biden was the nominee, there's ongoing frustration among some of her aides that the vice president is inheriting them, according to one person familiar with the Harris team. That's because they view her as a stronger debater than Biden, which is obviously true. I mean, anyone can be a stronger debater than Biden, right? Whose debacle on stage in June ultimately led to his withdrawal from the race. Quote, it was a bad set of rules for someone who needed to be protected. Oh, so now they admit it. Now they finally admit it. Who never should have been on the debate stage, said the debate strategist. And now they're stuck with it. Womp womp, ladies and gentlemen. All I hear are excuses. These are all just excuses that they are making. Because let me be clear, I do not inherently have any opposition to having live microphones, right? That's usually how a real debate is actually supposed to go. My entire point here, my entire point always has been, it is Joe Biden that demanded this, right? And in many ways, yes, they demanded that rule to try to protect Joe Biden. But now that the negotiating power is in Donald Trump's camp, and we obviously know that Kamala Harris just wants to do the excuse me, I'm speaking thing, why should the Trump campaign have to agree to that? You already agreed to one set of debate rules. Don't let them try to change it. And for what? And for what? There's no reason to do it. So props to Trump. And it's objectively kind of funny, isn't it? The Democrats requested one set of debate rules. And then suddenly when Donald Trump says yes, now they're saying the debate is rigged. The debate is rigged. What a joke.
As you remember, Jesse, she was treated like with kid gloves by the mainstream propaganda media. She was treated with kid gloves, even by every other candidate that was on that debate stage. No one questioned her, challenged her, or called her out for the record as prosecutor that she claimed to be proud of. She talked every day about how she'd be a prosecutor president, but no one questioned her about what that record was and how that would translate if she were president. And I pointed out the hypocrisy. I pointed out the hypocrisy of how she would do one thing, and when the standard was held to herself, she did the exact opposite. We are seeing that opportunity again in this debate coming up tomorrow night for President Trump to do the.
So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, let me know your thoughts on Kamala Harris's team already feeding excuses anonymously to the press about why she's going to lose. According to them, I don't even know what's going to happen in the debate, right? But they're already basically, I guess, preparing for excuses for when they lose. Let me know your thoughts. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe if you are new, and until next time, God bless and peace.